Hi. So a question came up in a posting recently about when to use all the different tunings, or even if you just know a handful of different tunings, when to use them. Well, one simple answer is if you're playing a tune in the key of G, you can use the standard G tuning or many other G tunings, but the standard G, which is the best known. And if, let's say you're playing a tune in the key of C, you can use the well-known double C tuning or other C tunings. There's drop C, there's open C, there's a whole bunch of C tunings, but double C is the best known. And if you're playing in the key of D, you can take that double C tuning and raise all the strings a pitch, so that then it becomes double D, or you can capo up 2 frets and then raise the thumb string up a whole step and you're into double D. And similar with the G tuning, you can raise that a whole pitch and play an A, or you could drop it a whole pitch and play an F, so on and so forth. But a trickier question is, when do I use something like open G versus Sawmill G? And the difference between those tunings is simple, just a one string difference. And that is, if you're in open G tuning, which starts off with, on the thumb string, a high G, 4th string is a D, 3rd string is a G, 2nd string is a B, and then the 1st string is a D, okay? You get that open G chord when you strum all the strings. To go to Sawmill G, or what's sometimes called mountain modal, different names for this, all you do is raise the 2nd string a half step. So you take that string from a B up to a C, okay, and that, I won't do that quite yet. And that makes the sawmill tuning. Well, you no longer have an open chord when you strum the strings. It's going to sound discordant, because it is. Okay, so why would you use that Sawmill G tuning? Well, again, the quick and easy answer is when you get into those eerie sounding modally mountain modal tunes, that's when a lot of players like to use the sawmill tuning. So for an example, I'll kind of foreshadow here, something like Cluck Old Hen or Shady Grove, those kind of tunes are in mountain modal tunes, as they're known. And you can play them in open G tuning just fine, but you get a totally different effect when you play them in the sawmill tuning. So let's look at that a little more deeply so you sort of understand what's going on here. And for that, we need to explore the concept of musical modes a little bit. And I don't want to get lost in a lot of theory. For one thing, I'm not a musical theorist. I kind of know what I need to know. and hopefully I can explain this in a way that makes sense to you. So let's say we're in the key of G. Let's just stay there. Key of G. We have our normal G scale. That is, okay. Well, properly, that's a G major scale. It's just a major scale, and there's certain intervals between certain notes, distances between notes. Some notes are whole steps, some notes are half steps, and that's set. And that's what we think of as in any key, whether it's a C major or D major or F major, the steps between the notes in that 8-note scale are set. And in technical terms, that's called the Ionian mode, but we know it as the G major mode. There are several other modes as well. Fortunately, in, say, old-time music, there's only really about 3 modes that are the most common modes, and occasionally a couple other tunes in strange modes. But let's say a tune like Buffalo Gals uses the major mode, or the Ionian mode. It follows that scale. For example, if I play the B part here, straight up G scale. we just think of that as G scale, but it's a G major scale. Now, there are other tunes that don't follow that G major scale. In particular, they use a scale, a mode called the Dorian mode. Okay, and in that scale, I'm going to start on my G note again. Let me play the Dorian mode of G. And down the scale. Okay, you could hear that kind of eerie minor kind of effect there. It's not a full minor mode. That's actually known as the Aeolian mode. We won't go there right now. But this is known as the Dorian mode, and there are a lot of old-timey, old mountain tunes in that Dorian mode. And what's happening there is, okay, I'm going to play the third string. That's the normal G scale. In the Dorian mode, the third note in that scale gets flattened. So rather than, I'm going to flatten that third note. Okay, so in G Dorian, one of the notes in the scale is on the third fret of the third string. So open G, then A fretted at the second fret, then A sharp at the third fret of the third string. Bum, bum, bum. Right? You hear that minor effect. And then there's one other note that we flatten relative to the G major scale, and that is at the seventh note. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Here comes a flat note. 7, 8, all the way back up to G. So on the first string, I'm flattening that seventh note. So rather than the G major scale that goes bum, 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 right? Let's flatten, rather than playing at the fourth fret, move that note down to the third fret. So it's, okay? So this is, again, our Dorian scale. That's all the theory we need for now. Just whether you remember all that doesn't really matter. If you got the concept there of what I'm doing, that's all you need to know for right now. Okay, let's apply that, and let's use good old Cluck Old Hen to explore that idea, because Cluck Old Hen is in this Dorian mode. It doesn't use a major scale. So a lot of the notes that I'm going to play here are going to include the third fret of the first string and the third fret of the third string. And those are those two notes that we've flattened from the G major scale in order to get that mountain modal or that Dorian effect. So here's this very basic boiled down Cluck Old Hen, just to catch the basic melody notes. You can hear that eerie, modally, minory sound that everybody likes, and oh, that's such a cool kind of mountain, evokes all these eerie feelings. And the reason for that is we're playing that eerie Dorian scale. Now, I played that in open G tuning. It works just fine, really. But here's what's going on. Because I'm playing a lot at the third fret of the third string, another note is right here at the first fret of the second string, and then I play that third fret of the third string right after that, and it's a little bit of a stretch, okay? It's doable, but it's a stretch. But I can make life easier for myself to play this tune if I go into the sawmill tuning. Because if I raise my second string up a half a step, now that C note that I normally have to fret right there is going to be an open note. It's going to be the open second string. So now rather than having, and here's one thing in clawhammer banjo, the more open strings that you can play, the better, because you get these strings ringing sympathetically with one another, and it creates that unique sound that goes with clawhammer banjo. And certainly when you go into the sawmill tuning, it creates a little bit of a different mood to the tune because of the way the strings are ringing. I don't fret that second string, I play an open second string, and that creates a little bit, a very subtle but distinctly different quality to the tune. So let me play it in that A part of Cluck Old Hen in straight G tuning once again. Then I'll go into sawmill and play it, and you'll see how the fretting is different, and you'll probably hear a little bit of difference in the way, same notes, but the banjo just rings differently. So here is the first part of Cluck Old Hen in open G. And I personally, a lot of times I'll just play it in open A if I don't feel like tuning up. But let's go to sawmill. Ah, got lucky, got right there. Now here I am. So the tuning is from the fifth string, a high G, fourth string is a D, third string, G, second string now is a C, and then the first string is still a D. So when I strum this, no longer that nice clean G chord, it's a minor chord. We won't get into details about that. But now I no longer have to fret that second string to catch that note at the first fret, because that is now the note on the open string. So what's happening in Cluck Old Hen here, the only fretting I have to do is at the third fret of the first string and the third fret of the second string. Makes it real easy, well, relative to where you are as a banjo player. Makes it easier, let's put it that way. So here's Cluck Old Hen in the sawmill or mountain minor tuning, whatever you want to call it. Notice I didn't have to do that stretch to catch that at the end. I used a drop thumb in there, but I minimized on my fretting. And also I create this eerie tone. Sorry. I keep screwed up. So much more minor-y feel to that tuning. Again, in the Dorian mode, you could use open G. If you're in a G scale, you could use the standard G tuning, or you could use the sawmill or mountain minor tuning. Both work. One makes your work a little easier than the other. Also creates a little bit more of an eerie feel, especially when you do brushes and stuff like that. So there it is, the explanation between, say, open G tuning and sawmill G tuning. Of course, if you were capoed up to A, you could play something in open A or sawmill A too, same idea. And this applies to a lot of tunes. Kitchen Girl is another one of those tunes you could play in open, well, it's an A tune, so open A or sawmill A, so on and so forth. Anyway, I hope this clarifies things a little bit. There's really no right, no wrong. You don't have to play at any given tune in any given key. There are just tunings that make playing a certain tune easier than others or more efficient. It also helps to create a different mood on the banjo, if you will. Anyway, there it is, open G versus Sawmill G. Certainly post any questions or thoughts in the discussion below this. Okay, have fun, keep picking.